Regular session of June 23rd, 2015 to order. As soon as the clerk hands out this amended agenda.
Thank you.
No.
Thank you.
Clerk, call the roll.
Roll call.
Here.
Dries.
Here.
Halter.
Here.
Hermes.
Here.
Lee.
Here.
Walther.
Here.
Moore.
Here. Okay, we have a prayer.
Dear Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this opportunity to serve this community. We pray that you would give us wisdom and the grace to know how to make choices that are pleasing to you. We also lift up Amy and Fred Merle and ask that your mercy and grace would be with them. In Jesus' name I pray.
Amen.
Pledge. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we've got an amendment to the agenda. Somebody want to make to add that? We have one or two things.
Did you want me to do that? I'd like to make an amendment to the agenda. I'd like to add for an appointment to the Rec Commission.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
And
And
also
then we have a resolution.
add under new business, the resolution the clerk just passed out, 2015-22. Will be discussed at that time.
I'll second it.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. We have the approval of minutes for the May 26th regular council meeting, the June 9th public hearing and meeting work session. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, the minutes stand approved. At this time, it's time for residents to comment on matters before council or to ask questions of concern to them. When recognized, please come forward to the lectern, give your name and address, and state your comments or questions. Council meetings are tape recorded for ease of transcription. Comments are limited to 2 minutes.
This is one. I've got an exhibit I would like everyone to see. I could slide the clerk of council so we can pass them out, one for every person. It will help me describe in more detail what I'm going to request or suggest you consider. There should be one for at least everyone. So being passed out, I'm going to recap what happened the last meeting we had here. I suggested that area on DeWitt Avenue, which is now vacant because the removal of a number of buildings and now a flat spot with concrete on it, would be seriously considered for a small pocket park. I also reviewed some history of the village that at one time on that part of DeWitt, there was an open area and it was apparently a part of a pocket park according to your original plat of the village. That Unfortunately, it was destroyed over time. Now, with some buildings that have been removed, there is some space there, roughly, I'd say 2 to 3 lots, maybe a little bit more, maybe about 2 acres max, that would be available for a pocket park. Having said that, someone approached me afterwards and said, there's plans for that already on DeWitt. I said, you're kidding. No, and they provided me with this. Apparently, I can't tell whether it's 2008 it was developed or 2003. I suggest 2003 would probably be the correct date because some of the stuff on there is not there anymore. But it looks like a rather elaborate plan to develop for that spot or near to it on DeWitt. Now, obviously, anything developed there initially would not be this elaborate because it would be expensive. But there's some stuff that can be done, the lawn, the shrubbery, making sure there's a proper conduction of water, because people who live below that do have drainage problems. As I indicated previously in my own lot, which is a little bit down for it, I had to spend about $1,500 just to put gravel down to keep the overflow, since the buildings behind me were destroyed. And there was no, proper runoff control. So this would be a win-win situation if you develop that area, and it would help the community. You have POD right across the street from it. This would increase their value. It's not big enough to be developed as an R1, which is zoned now, and it's too small really to put in as a PUD. It's not economically feasible, no matter what you want to do. And if you try to put another PUD right across from the current one, I don't think that would fly too well. Just my own opinion. So I think this would be a viable option. It would take it off our tax rolls. We would have to pay tax on the property. It would become public property for public use, and therefore no longer taxable. And it would be a village asset, and certainly an asset for D6, because it would be getting back something it had years ago. And we're not asking for something we didn't have before. We just want something back that we previously had. And I think I would ask you to seriously consider it, not necessarily tonight, but over a period of time. And I'm not saying it has to be this elaborate, but you have the space there, and I think it'd be a waste of a community asset not to do something with it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else?
My name is Patricia Bender. I live on 29 Handle Lane. And recently I have been taking the opportunity to walk through our village. And one of the things that I'm noticing is that there's a lot of people speeding through the back city, our village, so to speak, hitting Junedale, Hadley, Iona. And of course, you know, we all try to yell at them and tell them to slow down. I'm a little concerned the gun might get drawn on me sometime. But what I was wondering if there would be a possibility that we could get one of those motorized signs that let people know what their speed is, so that we can make them more aware of what they're doing on these roads that have no stop signs. So that is one thing I would kind of like to look and see if we could look at that. I've asked the police department to have a little more exposure on Junefield. Ilona, I've noticed being really a high-speed highway. I don't know what they're drag racing for. But I've really not seen any policemen sitting there on Junefield taking the time to observe people flying through. So I thought maybe getting a motorized sign might be quite helpful for several of these different streets. My second request is that with my walking, I also noticed that we have a lot of the benches that everyone in Greenhills thinks are too many, that possibly we could redirect them to some of the pocket parks that we have that we've noticed as we're walking through Greenhills. The other area I think would be nice for a pocket, for a bench, would be on the end of Jennings and Japonica. I think another nice area would be Hadley and Carini. Junefield and Japonica, these are kind of streets that are long and would have an opportunity for people to rest who are really trying to focus on being more athletic with these summer evenings. The other third thing I wanted to ask about was that we were making maps for the hiking trails, and I was wondering if those are going to be ready for this weekend with our walk. Does anybody know?
I can speak to that. I received from Doug about, I think it's been 3 weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago, the information to put those graphics together. I didn't have time, so I actually, on my own, subcontracted that out. We had first round that was supposed to be presented. It was presented to the Rec Commission this last time. I haven't heard any feedback. It won't take that much to, get feedback and make adjustments. I don't see how they'll be ready for this weekend. I would love for them to be ready because I know people have waited a long, long time for this.
Yeah, I think they'd be great, and I also think having these benches along those trails would be very helpful too for those people, the older that are having trouble getting going or needing to sit every so many feet. I think it's a great idea. Last but not least is who's in charge of the tennis courts? Anybody in charge of the tennis courts? I was thinking of trying to put together a tournament type thing, and I was just wanting to collaborate with some of the cities, and so I thought I'd ask in Greenhills if there's anybody responsible for the tennis courts here.
I would be.
Check with
You
Yvonne.
maybe just- Okay, all right,
Okay.
well, then I'll just talk to you further about it.
Okay. sounds
Okay,
good.
thank you very
Okay.
much.
Hi, I'm Diana Harrison Kohler, and there are just a couple of things I wanted to discuss tonight quickly. One was about the, one of the ordinances on here about the employee handbook. There's a portion in there that discusses for the service department, their uniforms. And currently it's at $75 a month for uniform and maintenance. And I find that to be kind of excessive. That's $900 a year. What type of uniform are they required to have? That it takes $900 a year per employee.
They do virtually buy everything they wear except the t-shirts and the jackets that we provide. They buy their own shoes, pants, jackets, everything.
Okay, so those aren't uniform required certain type of attire, that's just work attire.
Correct.
Okay. I'm not sure why the village would buy that part of their clothing. I know in my experience in my field and in other people, the clothing you wear to work is yours if it's not a specific required item. Like I'm required to wear steel-toed shoes. I buy them myself. The company does not buy them, among other things that I have to wear. I think $900 per employee to buy their clothing and to wash it is excessive, and I would like to have that reviewed before this is passed. How many service employees are we providing this to?
I believe it's only for full-time, and there are 3. And just,
So that's $2,700 a year for people to wash their clothing and to buy non-required pieces of article to wear while they work. I don't believe your company buys your suits to wear. And same with Mr. Dries, I don't believe they would buy your suits and pay for you to wash them. The other thing is National Night Out. Last year I brought that to the Committee for Traffic and Safety, and I followed up with that recently. That's coming up. It would be a wonderful activity for us to be involved in. It would really develop some more community. I wanted to find out during the evening if you could comment on what we're doing there, if we're going to be doing anything. Thank you very much.
Okay, before I get into reports of officials, the agenda change for the appointment to the Recreation Commission, did we want to have her speak to us before you do that, or?
If you feel it warrants it, this is probably the
Right.
most excessive we have ever been through with somebody who's appointed to the rec commission, but if you want that to happen, that's fine. You got a lot of information about Alexis before, as far as where she's from and what she's been doing, so. You think it warrants it to?
Well, no, I didn't know what your plan was.
Oh, I
having
was
her
just
here.
gonna make an announcement, here's Alexis Owen. and-
Okay, and there she is, and that's it. Okay, all right.
It's a real
Let's
person.
not scare
That's who it is.
I
Okay.
think it's reasonable rather than her coming up here and waving, I think it would be nice for her just to introduce herself and tell us just a little bit about herself, if that's all right.
If she would like, that's really up to her.
Yes.
Put her on the spot.
Okay.
Nice and embarrassing.
And why, and maybe why you're interested in this position, this role.
My name's Alexis Owen. I've lived in Greenhills virtually all my life. I am interested in the rec committee because we don't have a younger voice. It'd be nice to have activities that we're interested in, mid-20s.
Are you saying we're old?
No, not necessarily.
You would be right.
But the younger generation is good.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Thanks.
Okay, reports of village officials, municipal manager Yvonne Kovac.
Thank you, Mayor. The one thing I do want to point out tonight, and that is the item that came to you just this evening, although I had mentioned it, talked with Maria Walter about this, that it could happen. You know, we had the bid for our truck, and that was part of your packet, but we were waiting on a second bid for the equipment, which is being purchased separate. I did get that second bid in time to get something in front of you tonight, so we can get the whole thing ordered. But I just wanted to explain why that was landing in front of you tonight, so. And at the time, we can talk more about it if you so desire.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, Law Director Jeff Forbes.
Thank you, Mayor. No report, except to, I guess the update on the activity at the state is that the budget bill has, different versions of it have passed the House and passed the Senate, and it's on its way to a conference committee to iron out the differences, and we'll just have to wait and see how it comes out of that committee. We'll continue to watch that as we do all the other legislation at the state that may impact local governments. But beyond that, nothing specific to report tonight.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, Law Director? All right, Clerk of Council Catherine Lives.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The June 2015 Community Calendar and Resolution Numbers 2015, 16 TNS, 2015 17F, 18F, and 19 SNS were posted as required. Also posted as required was a public notice of the Planning Commission public hearing of July 4, 2015 regarding proposed text amendments to the Greenhills zoning code. And if there are no questions, that would conclude my report.
All right. Hearing no questions, moving on, Chief of Police, Neil was not here. Filling in
Neil's
is Brian.
really getting
Right. Neil's getting quite young these days.
Corporal Johnston, filling in for the chief. He's on vacation right now. First, just touch on a couple things that were brought up about the speeding. I will bring that to the chief's attention and our officers to have some more presence out there. You mentioned the speed sign. We are members with the Hamilton County Police Association. I'll have to go back and check. At one time, we did have a speed movable sign within that police association. So I'll have the chief follow up on that. That might be a possibility. Just going over the report that the chief prepared. The department, we continue to update and review our general orders and policy. The chief and lieutenant are actively working on that with a few select officers. This past month, the chief, lieutenant, and the clerk of police attended a PAMET update. PAMET is a software that we use for reporting our daily activities and keeping all of our incident reports in. That was held in Springfield Township. We adopted some new protocols and policy within the department with how to respond to heroin overdoses. This was in conjunction with the Hamilton County Heroin Task Force, which is newly formed. That was pretty much modeled off of a task force that they put together in the Cleveland area about 2 years ago. So that's something new for us. By the numbers, just looking at some numbers for last month, the department issued 79 traffic citations. We had 28 arrests. We had 766 contacts with the public, and we took about 207 incident reports. Any questions?
Okay, thank you. Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
And does anybody have anything for the fire chief? No? All right, my report, I have the audited court receipts for the month of May. $63 went to the county, $1,869 went to the state of Ohio, and $9,082 to the village of Greenhills, for a grand total of $11,014. And that's all I have. Okay, committee reports. Finance and Audit, Mr. Dries.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Later this evening, we will be voting on two finance items. One is the resolution accepting the 2016 tax budget. I would urge all my colleagues to vote in the affirmative for that. We've had public hearings, we've had lots of work done on it, we've had debate and discussion, and then also a resolution on the recreation levy, which I would also ask for your support. I try to maintain organizational discipline and only talk about the things that affect finance and audit. I'm going to stray from that tonight. I would encourage every parent that's listening, every young adult that's listening, every old adult that's listening, and any other person that I didn't get caught up in those three categories. I had a discussion with the police chief a couple weeks ago, and part of the discussion was how difficult it is to be a police officer in these times, and he is amazed that people want to join that profession, and I share that amazement. And my encouragement to anybody that gets stopped by a police officer is to show respect to them, to comply with their requests, and even if you think that they are totally in the wrong, you can sort that out in court. But regrettably, our community, the greater Cincinnati area, has had an officer lose his life in the last week, and has also had an incident that was on national news at a swimming pool. And there are an awful lot of good cops, and the ones that aren't will be found out through the system. And it seems so needless, and that 3 young boys would not have their father on Father's Day because of somebody that needed to do something very foolish. So I would just encourage people to do that and just comply with police officers. And if you like what they're doing, thank them. And if you don't like what they're doing, file a complaint and get something exposed. But to the extent that we have such tragedy going on and so close to home, we've had officers lose their lives in New Orleans and in other places recently, and it's just a terrible tragedy for our country, in my opinion. So I will stick back to my discipline of talking about finance and audit when it's that time. I'm done. Thank you.
I have a couple of questions for finance.
Yes.
Number one, on the, after the hearing,
Yes.
and we're going to be voting on the budget, has there
Yes.
been any additional changes or anything? I didn't see anything at this time, but I just want to
There were no-
confirm on that.
You are correct. Your assumption is correct. There are no changes.
Okay, and question number 2.
Yes.
I was under the understanding that on the Ohio checkbook, we were supposed to be part of that June the 1st, to have like all the budget and so forth on the state. Has that materialized?
It is going slower than they anticipated.
Okay. When is the expected time for, yes, please.
I got a phone call today from the treasurer's office.
Who are you, sir?
I have to upload all of our data, and then they'll sort through it, and it'll probably be a couple weeks after that. So I'll assume by July.
Middle of July, you think that that will take place possibly?
That's just a shot in our guess there.
Okay.
But it is moving, but slowly.
Could I ask perhaps to just send a little note in the email saying, check this out, it's on, or something like that, so because I keep trying to find it and not being able to find it.
Sure, yeah. Once it's live and up and running, then I'll be sure to let
That would be great.
everyone know, and we'll put a link on our website for it as well.
Okay, thank you very much, that would be great.
And that was our finance director for the viewing audience.
Matt Sanders, that was Matt Sanders.
Any other questions for me?
Actually, to Diana's question concerning the budget and that uniform line item of $2,700, is there any way we could have some feedback on?
I don't want to change the budget tonight for one line item. We have a balance, we've worked through this budget. There may be things that we don't understand that I would defer to the manager on. And remember, this is just a blueprint for spending. None of this money can be spent till we appropriate it. So I've got a note to follow up with the manager on that, and so we will. Yeah, I don't want you to think your comment was ignored, but if we think we can do it for 700, then when come times for appropriation, it'll be 2,000 lighter than what's in the budget, and we'll be ahead somewhere.
And I think the budget should align as much as possible. I don't think we should be making our decisions at the appropriation level. I think the budget should reflect, and if there's something that's inconsistent, we should.
I don't know all the details of what's other committees are doing, or other communities are doing, and for one item on there,
And there is a deadline for when the budget has to be filed.
That's fine. I mean, the whole purpose is to
Yes.
make sure
Yes.
that people are heard, and then if there's a lot that goes into some of these figures. Sometimes it's not as clean and dry, but I think we owe it to the people out there to have an answer in what.
Well, and I'll give you some background on the question that she brought up.
Okay.
That amount of money was offered to the employees, and actually it may have increased a little bit, but initially, probably 20, 25 years ago, the village rented uniforms for the service department. And so that was the cost 25 years ago for the village, which was the savings for us by,
At that, yeah. at that
actually,
time.
we were probably paying more at that time for uniforms. And so
Sure.
we asked the employees to
To
provide the own thing. And the village had been providing uniforms for years.
All right.
And if I could just tack on to that, this is not a new thing. What happened in, was it 2012 or 2013 when we did the handbook? This was always in the code, and it didn't get increased at that time.
Sure.
It, for whatever reason, didn't make it into the book, and we are just putting it in the book now. So
Okay.
this isn't something new that we're going to
Right.
start. We've been doing it. for
I'm
a
not
long time.
opposed to looking at something and say, is this expense worth continuing to do either? And so we'll look at it.
Well, that's fine. I just want to make sure it's addressed.
I
Yeah.
agree with you, Jeff. I thought at the moment, when I saw that, perhaps it was the police uniforms or something, but that's on a different item on the handbook. And I would like to have a second look at that. I agree with you on that.
And just another point, it gets a little bit difficult because there's a lot of aspects to an employee, and sometimes raises aren't given. And I'm not saying this is how business should be done, but sometimes there's other factors. One, it was grandfathered in because this is how it was done before with renting. Doesn't hurt to look at it. I think it's good to discuss it, so thank you.
Okay. I will add that when you talk to employees and you want to take something away from them, then we best consider adding that. So if you
Right.
eliminated the uniform allowance, then we give them a pay raise or something to that
Right,
effect.
right. So it just has to fall in the legitimate category, and
Yeah.
if it makes sense, we need to do it.
Because if you want to keep happy employees, you don't
Start buying them.
screw around with your employees.
Yeah, we could always start buying them again.
Right.
Well, and
Okay.
the question is whether that's typical practice or not.
It is
So-
for
Yeah.
Okay.
services workers.
Yep.
Okay, Recreation, Cable TV, Mr. Hermes.
I have no report at this time,
Okay.
but I will have something in new business.
Okay. Intergovernmental Affairs, Laws and Rules, Mr. Lee.
Actually, Mr. Mayor, I'm in the same boat as Mr. Hermes. Our meeting had to be canceled yesterday morning due to some problems, but we do intend to reschedule here very shortly.
Okay. Service and Streets, Councilmember Walter.
I have a meeting coming up on the 29th at 9 in the morning. I have, at appropriate time, I have the ordinance to bring in for the truck, and I will explain that later as well. I asked for a few questions to follow up on what is going on. The Phase 2 punch list items are still being addressed. The maintenance building issue is not going to be a quick fix. The vendors have looked at it, but a resolution is still in discussion. The truck has been identified and it was in parts. First, we identified since we started this process since the beginning of the year. Now we have everything together, the equipment and the truck. So I will explain that later. The garages, the council will be voting on the Tuesday legislation, adding some code of the language that may help us with some of the situations that some of the neighbors have been bringing up. I also brought up the question of the garbage, and also as of today, as I was coming here on the A section, there's sofas out there as well uncovered. So that seems to be a continuous problem that we have. I would like to also share with you that I was given the honor of an academic A+ All-Star Award in May, and that was a lot of fun. We have one rain-out game, but the other one materialized, so that was a lot of fun. I attended the Board of Education meeting on 6/8, I want to also let you know that on 6/29, the Hamilton County Municipal League will be meeting. The meeting will be in St. Bernard, and I want to remind you also that we always now have a lobbyist at all times coming to the meeting. I also attended the meeting for the Board of Education yesterday, and I ran into Mr. Mayor there, and I addressed that, the board and the other conditions there. Also, there is a committee being formed that is for academic boosters, and there was the beginnings of that meeting on Saturday, and there was a presentation at the board meeting yesterday on that. So if anybody would like to know something more about it, would like to ask any questions or when the meetings are, please you can contact me. At this time, I had finished my report, and like I said, at the appropriate time, I will bring legislation to an end here. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Any questions? Okay, hearing none. Community Development, Mr. Holder.
Yes, since we had to cancel our meeting yesterday, we will be rescheduling for Tuesday, June 30th at 10 a.m. I tried to get the word out so that people didn't show up yesterday, or it was 7 o'clock yesterday evening, but we're trying to get it scheduled. We're scheduled for Tuesday, 10 a.m. on the 30th. And that concludes my report.
Sorry, we didn't know if we had a conflict.
Okay.
Right.
Can
Do
I
we-
ask a question?
Sure.
Do we have anything to report for the parade and the day at the pool, et cetera?
Well, I thought that would be more of a recreation
Yeah, sure.
item.
I mean, well, what's happening is that, of course, you got the run in the morning, and the parade following thereafter, and then from 12 day to community day at the pool. So everything's lined up as it was said previously as far as the times and starting times. So
Okay, you will let me know when you need me there?
that's
For the,
a personal
cooking?
question, isn't it?
For the cooking?
No, I'm
part
like
of
it. Yeah,
Because
we talked about 4 o'clock, remember?
4 o'clock?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's still it.
Yep, sure is.
I'll be there.
Yes. Is that okay? All right. Any more? No. Traffic and Safety, Councilmember Brokaw.
Yes, I did want to touch on the speed signs. I know we have them up where I work, and one of the great things about them is even if they record the data about the times, so it will record when the peak times for speeding and such are. So that's a great tool to use, because even if you're not there, then you know when to target to be there. So it's a good thing, and they're very mobile now, and I think they're becoming less expensive just as technology improves. It just becomes easier access, but if we have a option to go in with someone or to borrow one that they can use, that'd be great. So it's a good tool to have the data and to be able to move it and target specific areas. So I think that's a good suggestion. I'll follow up in the traffic and safety meeting, which is going to be Monday, July 20th at 4:30 is our next one. I know I did send the question about the National Night Out to Yvonne and the chief when I received it, and there was some talk back and forth, and I hadn't had a chance to touch base with the chief in person. I know on that date, staffing levels would not permit. There was some concerns about organizing something, who would organize it, and since it's sometimes hard for us to get volunteers and people to come, there was some talk about if it would be viable. I know surrounding communities have dropped back from doing it the past couple of years. I know Forest Park hasn't done it lately either. So there was just talk more about mentioning it on our website, that it's just as a FYI and not as something, a physical activity.
Turn your porch light on.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to comment on that, in years past, that was organized by Forest Park Police Department, and we would participate in that along with surrounding departments like Springdale, Springfield Township. But I think that stopped probably about 2 or 3 years ago.
2-3 years ago, yeah.
For staffing and finance reasons.
I was wondering if there's any truth to the fact of the increased traffic that the resident was speaking to. Has anything to do with the construction on Northland Boulevard, also the closure on Kemper? People seem to be
Cutting through?
cutting through and making some what they think are shortcuts, but
There's
on
no quick way.
So.
No, I have noticed that most often when we call the police department for Damon Road, it's during the summertime. And one of the nights that I did call, it was very, very late at night. It was very, very dark. There were children and bicycles with no lights on them, and the cars were speeding. It was not a good combination. So I figure that would be one of the things that with the knowledge, at least some people would realize that they're speeding if they're not have received a ticket yet telling them that they have
Right.
been speeding. But I think that might be a very good idea. What is your knowledge, if any, the price range of that?
We haven't bought one for several years, because when we did, we bought a couple. And one of the, and you can use a handheld computer to link into them. And even when they're not showing the speed now, it's also collecting data. So even if the numbers aren't flashing, it's still collecting the data of how fast people are going, which is also a good tool. We had some certain stretches that people took it as a challenge to see how fast they could get it to read. So we opted to turn the lights off to collect the data and not have them have the option of besting their friends. So.
And that way they could read it and know what the problem areas are and be able to
Except
sit there.
it's the same thing as having a police car sitting there. People that see it modify their behavior.
Correct.
So it's not collecting true data. It's collecting data with a presence. So it's, unfortunately, when there's a police car sitting there, people are less likely to speed or run a stop sign. So when the sign's there, they're less likely to speed unless they're doing it to see how fast they can go. So it's a deterrent, but once it goes away, sometimes there's a short curve where it's not happening, but then it picks back up.
And we looked at that a number of years ago. It was way too expensive for us to afford to buy one. I don't remember what the prices were, but, now they've got more flexibility with them. But, because you can get them that you can attach. It doesn't have to be mobile. You can attach it to a sign or a tree or something
Yeah,
like
the
that.
ones we got were about this big and could be attached to already existing signs, as opposed to a big trailer that takes up a parking spot.
Maybe somebody would like to donate one. Okay. Unfinished.
That might still be feasible, though,
Okay.
to borrow the one from
Well-
Hamilton County, though.
Next time you talk to her, give her what the price is.
I still think it would be a good option because it does collect data
Yeah.
to, at least if we can borrow one
Right.
from the Chiefs Association or,
We did borrow one from Springfield Township for down on Springdale Road, but it didn't record. It just showed you your speed. So it was an old one that they had that they were willing to loan us. All right, moving on. Unfinished business and general orders. We have ordinance number 2015-04, L&R, ordinance amending certain provisions of the Greenhills Employee Handbook. Mr. Lee, this is for a second reading.
Second reading. I move that we suspend the rules and requiring the reading of the ordinance in full and read by the title only.
Second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
Ordinance number 2015-04-LNR. Ordinance amending the certain sections of the Greenhills Employee Handbook. I move that we accept, that we pass this ordinance.
I'll second that.
Any questions or discussion?
I still would like the possibility of revisiting that particular item.
All right. It's been moved and seconded to pass ordinance 2015-04, laws and rules. Clerk, call the roll.
Roll call.
aye.
Dries.
Aye.
Halter.
Aye.
Hermes.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Walther.
Aye.
Ordinance 2015-04 L&R carries. Okay. Next ordinance, 2015-05 L&R, ordinance amending Greenhills Code of Ordinances, Chapter 1315, International Property Maintenance Code. Mr. Lee.
Second reading. I move that we suspend the rules for requiring the reading of the ordinance in full and read by title only.
Second.
Okay. All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 Okay.
Motion carries.
Ordinance number 2015-05-LNR, ordinance amending Greenhills Code of Ordinance, Chapter 1315, International Property Maintenance Code. I move that we pass this amendment this day.
Do we have a
Second.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded. Do we have any questions on this ordinance?
Just for the public's sake, though, it's concerning garage doors being required. Garage doors that are, I know I'm compensating for us not reading it. Garage doors are required on all garages, attached or detached, and must be in good workable condition.
But this does not apply to carports.
Yeah. And also, the reason involving that is, A, to prevent thieves from coming inside and stealing things that you have inside your garage, to maintain it closed as possible, and also vermin to come in there, raccoons and birds and other animals that would seek refuge there and would cause some damage to your own belongings there.
And the other portion of that is that the doors need to be operable and in
Correct.
good condition. And that's where the rub comes into play in
Mhm.
some
Okay.
instances within the village currently, so.
Okay, clerk call the roll.
Dries,
Aye.
Halter,
Aye.
Hermes,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Walther,
Aye.
roll call.
Aye.
Okay, ordinance number 2015-05, L&R, amending Greenhills Code of Ordinances, Chapter 1315, International Property Maintenance Code, passes. A new business, Resolution 2015-20-F, resolution accepting Greenhills 2016 tax budget. Mr. Dries.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Resolution 2015-20F, resolution accepting Greenhills 2016 tax budget. Be it resolved by the village of by the Council of the Village of Greenhills, Ohio, Section 1, that the Council of the Village of Greenhills accepts the 2016 tax budget as prepared by the municipal manager and the finance director attached hereto and incorporated herein by reference. Section 2, this resolution shall be in full force and take effect upon passage. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
Second.
Any discussion, questions?
Just the one clarification, it needed to be down. What was the date that it needs to be down to?
Isn't it due by July 15th? Yeah.
Just one other comment. At this time, trash collection is in the budget, but that is under consideration by the Finance Committee.
And we will also discuss the uniform.
Yes.
Okay. Clerk call the roll.
Halter,
Aye.
Hermes,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Walther,
Aye.
roll call.
Aye.
Dries,
Aye.
Resolution number 2015-20-F, resolution accepting the Greenhills 2016 tax budget passes.
You got a big
Okay.
one, brother.
We went small font to keep it on one page.
Resolution 2015-21-F, resolution declaring it necessary to levy a tax in excess of the 10 mil limitation for recreation. Councilmember Dries.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This resolution declaring it necessary to levy a tax in excess of the 10 mil limitation for recreation, whereas the village council desires to continue to provide residents of Greenhills with necessary governmental services, and whereas in order to continue to provide recreational services to the residents of the community, the village council has determined that it is necessary to renew the current recreation levy of the village as authorized by Ohio Revised Code 5705.19H, and whereas the amount of taxes which may be raised within the 10 mil limitation will be insufficient to provide an adequate amount necessary for the requirements of the Village of Greenhills, Hamilton County, Ohio, and whereas the Hamilton County Auditor has certified the Village Council that the dollar amount of revenue would be generated by a levy of tax at a rate not exceeding .70 mils for each $1 valuation equals $36,580 based upon the total estimated tax valuation of the village of $52,257,320. And whereas the village council desires to submit .70 mil renewal recreation levy to the electors of the village at the general election to be held on November 3rd, 2015, now therefore be it resolved by the Council of the Village of Greenhills, Hamilton County, Ohio, Section 1, that it is necessary to levy a tax in excess of the 10 mil limitation for the benefit of the Village of Greenhills pursuant to Ohio Revised Code 5705.19H for recreational purposes at a rate not exceeding .7 mils for each $1 valuation, which amounts to 7 cents for each $100 of valuation for 5 years, and which the levy is a renewal of .7 mils. Section 2, that the question of the renewal levy be submitted to the electors of said Village of Greenhills at the November election to be held at usual polling places within said Village of Green Hills on the third day of November 2015. Section 3, that the said tax levy be placed upon the tax list of the current year after the February settlement next succeeding the election, if a majority of the electors voting thereon vote in favor thereof. Section 4, that the clerk of the Village of Green Hills be and is hereby directed to certify a copy of this resolution to the Board of Elections, Hamilton County, Ohio, and notify said Board of Elections to cause notice of election on the question of levying said tax to be given as required by law. Section 5, that is found and determined that all formal actions of this council concerning and relating to the adoption of this resolution were adopted in an open meeting of this council, and that all deliberations of this council and any of its committees that resulted in such formal action were in meetings open to the public in compliance with all legal requirements, including Section 121.22 of the Ohio Revised Code. Section 6, that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon its adoption. Mr. Mayor, I move for the adoption of this resolution.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? I think we've discussed this a lot.
This is a renewal. This is
Correct,
not in
yes,
addition to.
right. Yep. Okay, call the roll.
Hermes,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Walther,
Aye.
Brokaw,
Aye.
Dries,
Aye.
Halter,
Aye.
Okay. Resolution 2015-21-F, declaring it necessary to levy a tax in excess of the 10 mil limitation. This is a recreation levy. It passes. All right. Next issue, resolution number 2015-22-SNS, authorizing the municipal manager to purchase a 2015 F-550 truck cab and chassis through the State Cooperative Purchasing Program. Councilmember Walther?
This resolution is in two parts. We have a second part coming as well for the equipment for such truck. So resolution number 2015-22-SNS, authorizing the municipal manager to purchase a 2015 F-550 truck cab and chassis through the State Cooperative Purchasing Program. Whereas the Service Department is in need of a truck, and whereas the village has been able to locate a truck that will meet the needs of the Service Department through the Ohio State Cooperative Purchasing Program. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Council of the Village of Green Hills, Ohio, Section 1, that the municipal manager is hereby authorized and directed on behalf of the Village of Green Hills to purchase a truck for the Green Hills Service Department from Lebanon Ford, the amount of approximately $44,877. Section 2, that the finance director is hereby authorized to pay said vendor an amount up to $44,877 for this vehicle. Section 3, that this resolution shall take effect at the earliest day permitted by law. And I move for us to vote on this resolution, to adopt this resolution.
Second? You second? Yeah. Okay. All right, any discussion?
The commentary that I wanted to make was that we have been looking for this since the beginning of the year, and I made a few phone calls, and I got the assurance that this will be paid in full. We are not making any arrangements. There will not additional interest to be gained by the village whatsoever, would be paid totally. And I'm moving my head and saying yes, and that's our finance director there, and he's concurring with that.
Okay.
You
All right.
wouldn't dare.
Great. Okay, clerk, call the roll.
Lee,
Aye.
Walther,
Aye.
Brokaw,
Aye.
Dries,
Aye.
Halter,
Aye.
Hermes,
Aye.
Resolution 2015-22-SNS, authorizing the municipal manager to purchase a 2015 F-550 truck cab and chassis through the State Cooperative Purchasing Program. Carries. have?
I have the resolution number
Resolution
2015
Go ahead.
23 SNS, and this is for the equipment of such truck. And just arrived today, and it was sent in like sometime this afternoon because we didn't have it in the packets, etc. So I beg for you to please go along with this because this is a much-needed equipment for such truck. Authorizing the municipal manager to purchase equipment for this 2015 F-550 truck cab and chassis, whereas the equipment is needed for the cab and chassis to be purchased by the village, and whereas the cost of the equipment is under the bidding threshold. However, the village solicited bids from 2 vendors and has selected the lowest bid. Now therefore, be it resolved by the Council of the Village of Greenhills, Ohio, Section 1, that the municipal manager is hereby authorized and directed on behalf of the Village of Greenhills to purchase equipment to include a dump buddy package and a snow plow package and other miscellaneous equipment needed for the 2015 F-550 in the amount of approximately $27,575.00 from Kaffenbarger Truck Equipment Company. Section 2, that the finance director is hereby authorized to pay said vendor an amount up to $27,575.00 for this equipment. Section 3, that this resolution shall take effect at the earliest date permitted by law. And I move to adopt this resolution.
Second.
Okay, been moved and seconded to adopt the resolution. Any discussion on the item?
Did we get I know we solicited 2 bids. Did we get a second bid from a second vendor?
Yes, we did.
And who was it and what was the bid?
It was, if anyone didn't recognize, hold on for a minute. And it came in at about $3,700 more.
Okay.
Zoresco, Zoresco, Zoresco.
And of course, this is needed because...
It's
Because
necessary.
it's gonna snow.
It's going to snow.
right. And you definitely
Does
need
it
a
come
dump
with
body
free
on there
salt,
to
is what
carry
I
the
wanna
salt,
know.
the dirt, whatever.
And it
blacktop.
also, I have been assured that all is going to be paid in full, out the door, no finance requirements attached thereof. Free and clear.
All right, clerk call the roll.
Walther,
Aye.
Brokaw,
Aye.
Dries,
Aye.
Halter,
Aye.
Hermes,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Okay.
I was hesitating.
Resolution 2015-23 SNS, authorizing municipal manager to purchase equipment for the 2015 F-550 truck cab and chassis carries. All right, and we have
Yes.
Mr. Hermes and a motion for appointment to the Recreation Commission.
Okay, and for all you people who forced Alexis to get up here and talk,
Be ashamed.
yeah, be ashamed. I'd like to make a motion to appoint Alexis Owen to the Recreation Commission.
I'll second that.
Okay. Questions? None? Hearing none? All in favor?
You know, do we need more old people represented on that committee now?
No, I'm very thankful that young people have a spirit of community service, and I'm glad to see her on the rec commission.
You make a strong argument.
Can we make it
so.
contingent if she finds 5 friends for other?
I just want to warn her that she must meet every time that we have a meeting because we have been short of quorum at oftentimes. So since you are young and vigorous to do this, we
vigorous?
we really would appreciate your support of that.
Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
There you go.
All right, calendar.
Thank you.
Hey, guess what's happening this Saturday? Come on, guess.
Greenhills Community Day.
Yes.
June 30th, Tuesday, 10 a.m. is community development meeting.
The 29th is Street and Services, and I wrote down the names of those streets that they were mentioned for the benches, et cetera. Perhaps we can discuss that. Ms. Kovac? those areas and see if that would be possible for the walking trails, et cetera.
What time on the 29th?
The 29th is at 9 o'clock.
Okay.
9 in the morning.
On with 10 o'clock for Lawson Rooms reschedule.
Well,
So-
we're doing community development.
No, you're doing it on the 30th.
Okay, Tuesday. Just garden my turf.
Mr. Lee, I do have a commitment at 11, so maybe I can have mine short and maybe say 9:30 for you, if that's okay?
The length of the meeting is entirely in your hands.
All right, well, how about,
Act accordingly.
would you be willing to
Yes.
do it at 9:30?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate that.
9:30 for laws and rules.
For laws and rules, I'll keep mine short.
You know, that's on videotape now.
I know.
This will be a record. All right, nothing further, call for adjournment. No, what?
I was going to
We
say.
are adjourned.
We're adjourned.